Are you a female entrepreneur who feels stuck, overwhelmed, or unsure how to move forward? The Life Coaching for Business Builders program helps you harness your inner power, build your authentic platform, and chart a clear path to business success. You don't have to do this alone. Together, we'll create strategies, structure, and accountability to help you boss up in life and business. It's time to claim your power and make your business dreams a reality. Hello, and welcome to Boss Business Strategies. I am your host, Dr. Marcia, and what we do here is that we bring powerhouse entrepreneurs to the stage, front and center, to hear about how they have built their business, how they have built wealth, and they have built a legacy. And so today's guest, she embodies both the power, the precision, and the purpose. She is the wife to former NFL standout Robert Hicks, a dynamic leader within the Off the Field NFL Wives Association. She's also an electrical engineer. Okay, got to shout her out for that.
Yes.
And she's the creative force behind the Pink Sapphire events. She has mastered the art of operating in multiple rooms and winning in every one of them. She's ready for a conversation about leadership, about legacy, and the power of owning every dimension that you are in. So I want to welcome Shawnette Sapp. She is the definition of a modern powerhouse where intelligence, innovation, and creativity converge into one space with a Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering, as I mentioned, and an MBA from the University of Miami. She has built an impressive career as a senior product manager, bringing over 20 years of experience in software development and leading the creation of high-performance, user-centered technology solutions. But Shawnette, she doesn't stop at tech. She's the CEO of Pink Sapphire Events. You see her pink, and we're vibing today. She transforms ordinary moments into unforgettable experiences, infusing every event with purpose, precision, and impact, and often in support of philanthropic initiatives that uplift the community. We met at the Super Bowl not too long ago. As I mentioned, she's the wife of former NFL player Robert Hicks. She's a proud mother of two and the Atlanta captain of the Off the Field NFL Wives Association. Shawnette leads with excellence both at home and in the community. She's a woman who proves that success isn't about choosing one lane, but it's about mastering them all. Welcome, Shawnette, to the show. How are you?
I am great. I'm like, oh, I love that introduction. I'm like, woo,
That's
like,
right.
yes.
I love it.
Yes.
Yes. And all the things are you. I remember having a conversation not too long ago after we met and just hearing the depth of who you are and what you've been all about, and that's just the passion in which you move. And so if you could just kind of share with us kind of where you are landing in this season. What is it, or how does it feel to be Shawnette Sapp?
So this season is my season of yes, right? So I've had some transitions, and we can talk about that a little later. But I started this year with saying, I'm just going to say yes to things that I normally would shy away from, right? And
Mhm.
so I'm excited to be doing this is my first podcast because normally I would say no.
Really? Oh my
Yes.
gosh. Well,
Yes.
one, I want to thank you for your yes. I had no idea, but this is huge. This is huge. Tell us why. Tell us what was the impetus? What made you start saying yes?
And it's yes to different things, right? So I'm used to being behind the scene, making others shine, right? in technology and in my creative space, right? So, in technology, as a senior product manager, my responsibility is to ensure that my software developers shine, that my quality engineers shine, that my manager shines. But, I'm like the puppeteer, right? Orchestrating all of this. And, I'm behind the scenes in technology, so to say. But then also in event planning and management, right? When clients bring me on to execute a phenomenal experience, they're the highlight. They're the front center, and all eyes on them. And I've always been okay with that, right? But I felt like this year, in my year of yes, I'm saying yes to things that put me in the front of the stage and not necessarily in the back of the stage.
I love that. And I have to ask you, so does that also correspond to a season of no? Like, were you asked to do some things and you were like, no, 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 I'm just in the background. Y'all do that. Is that how that happened?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Because I would always, I'm a little shy when it comes to speaking, depending on the topic, right? So product management, I speak all day, every day, but I'm speaking about technology, right? For events, I'm speaking to my clients, I'm speaking to my team, right? I don't have a qualm about speaking, but it's just the being at the front and center. So in those opportunities, I've always said no.
Yeah. So we have a similar story as far as that's concerned. I was the physician, and the physician is always kind of in the background. We come and do stuff, and then we leave. And I was always, and I also have a personal story of having a birthmark on my face, which also made me hide. So I had a reason where I could put my finger on why I was hiding. But now in this season of yes, and the one that I've stepped into, there's a purpose behind my yes and why I'm speaking. So I'm going to ask you, what is your purpose behind the yes and what you're going to say once you get the stage?
Wow, that's a really solid question. So it's just to break that self-imposed ceiling, right? Um, I'm like at a loss for words, but I've had so many people tell me, "Oh, you should speak, you should speak." So I do manage this phenomenal event called Dr. Barb Speak Off, right? And Dr. Barb is a speaking coach for several, folks in the NFL community. Well, she always asks me every year, "Shawnette, you should speak." Like, no, I'm good. I'm good, right? And so it's been self-imposed, right? That no one's telling me not to speak. I just created that ceiling, right?
Yeah.
Or even a wall of no, I don't need to speak, right? But I want to change that narrative, right? Because
Yeah.
I do feel like my voice should be heard um, outside the realm of, work from a technical perspective or work from a creative perspective, right? I think it's time for Shawnette to glean forward.
I love it. And so I am a physician. I'm also a life and business architect. And what I heard you say is that you are in the personal development space now, right? The first step has to be, you know what? I'm going to say yes. And as you open up that door and remove that ceiling, now the next thing that's going to come is the purpose behind it. You don't really know what that is yet. That's still in development. So
Correct.
I am honored to be in this space with you as it starts to unfold, because what is going to happen is that it's going to explode, and God doesn't show you, she doesn't show us the whole thing. He just shows us little bits and pieces. And if he showed you all that you're going to do, you were like, oh my gosh. Exactly. So that is, I think that's the space that we're in. And so I'm gonna transition to another zone, if you will, where you likely played the behind the scenes, and that is with the NFL, your husband, right? Because NFL wives are generally behind the scenes. They're, some front and center, but usually behind the scenes as far as the player themselves. How do you see that parallelism with the tech and the events and then being an NFL wife?
So let me digest that question, right? So, um, when it comes to being the wife of an NFL player, I was actually just had this conversation on Sunday. We had a luncheon with some of the ladies in the Atlanta area. Is that, my husband is 6'7". So when he, walks in public, everyone comes up to him, right? Because he's a big guy. And, they're like, "Did you play football?" And sometimes he'll say yes, and sometimes he'll say no, right? It just depends on, his mood and his, desire to engage with folks, right? Um, so they don't come up to me and say, "Did your husband play football or did you play football?" Or, right? So all eyes are on him, and rightfully so. I mean, he's 6'7", right? They're going to approach him. So I when it comes to him, yes, I'm in I'm in back of stage, right? When it comes to him in our outwardly, you know, execution of life, right? But at home, oh, it's totally different, right? He loves me, I love him. He has my back, I have his back, right? It's like parallel magnetism, right? So, um, we excel with our environments, our personal environments, because he doesn't have that qualm about, "Oh, I'm this, retired great football player," right? Little known secret, he was actually the stunt double for the main character in the movie The Blind Side.
Really? I love that
Yes.
show.
Yes. So all of the football scenes in the movie The Blind Side are actually my husband, Robert Hicks. He didn't tell anyone that he was in this movie. He didn't tell a soul. I mean, of course, I knew, our kids knew, his mother knew, but outside of that, he didn't tell a soul, right? And so when the movie came out, he got a phone call and his friend said, "The movie theater, and I know this is you. This is you." And so it was just an exciting, time for him, but he didn't share it. It just talks to his, humility and the fact that he's humble and not constantly, needing to be um, front and center and seen
Yeah.
in the spaces.
Um,
So,
yeah.
so as far, oh, go ahead.
No, I wanted just to say a little bit of I guess from a fan perspective, I did not know that they use stunt doubles in those football scenes, but it makes sense now. But anyway, continue.
Yeah, the main character, Aaron Quentin, played not a lick of sports. So it would have made it like, not as believable, right? And so they had to find someone that was, his height, his frame, his size to be the stunt double. And my husband looked up on that, right? And so just speaking broadly though, for women across the, within the NFL community, yeah, husbands are front and center and we do play a supporting role, but in public, but I think I can't speak for every wife, but I would feel that, in the home it's common ground.
Yeah. No, I love that. So let's talk about a place where you are more front and center. and that is the Off the Field um, NFL Wives
NFL Wives.
Association. Tell us what that is, and tell me how you have been a support to that organization.
So I initially started with off the field volunteering. When my kids got to a certain age, I had more freer time to, delve into community service. So I was very supportive off the field when it came to our St. Jude walks and just other um, community service events. And I was corralling ladies all across the nation. Hey, let's walk. Let's go and walk, right? And then from there, I was on the board for a little over 6 years. And, just very instrumental in ensuring that our programming was executed with efficiency, right? And then our outreach, was impeccable. Right. And so that was a great, opportunity for me to just learn and grow with additional wives that, I hadn't initially known before I got started with Off the Field. And so then after I retired from the board, right, I took a hiatus and then I got a phone call saying, hey, we're needing some captains in the various, NFL cities for off the field. Would you be willing to be a captain? And of course, I can't say no because, you know, community service is near and dear to me. And it's something that, I always do. I always give back. I always contribute. I always give my all to everything. So being involved as the captain of Atlanta has been exhilarating. The ladies are getting excited. Super Bowl will be in Atlanta in 2 years, right? So, the next Super Bowl is in LA, and then after LA, it'll be in Atlanta. So, we're going to pull out all the stops to make sure Atlanta is phenomenal.
I love that. That's amazing. And I wanted to ask you, oh, what was it? So we talked about, oh, I know the issue that I know the group that Off the Field is here to do, some philanthropy, but it's also to be a close-knit community for the NFL wives. And so how do you all marry, if you will, the lifestyle piece, the pressure piece, the not sure when the your spouse is going to get traded, doing the moves. How do you navigate all of that space and still be a normal couple, if you will?
Oh, off the field provides resources, right, for all of our members and even women that are not currently members of off the field, right? It's just a great network of women that have corralled together to be a resource to one another. Right. So let's say there's a question about, oh, does anyone in this city know a nanny, that I can use? Or does anyone in the city have a preferred doctor, right? So it's this collective of women, or I should say a microcosm of women within the NFL umbrella that are here to support and nurture one another. And Off the Field has spearheaded that for over 25 years. Um, and it's just, great to have this collective of women that are here to support one another.
Yeah, I had the pleasure of being in the room for your awards banquet as well as the pink carpet event that was in San Francisco. And as I was speaking with your president, Tanisha Patterson Brown, um, just for the 25 years that you all have been doing this, and it started off, I think, as like a brunch or something, and now it's sitting in the Neiman Marcus Rotunda. I mean, bringing folks from across the the world to get awards. How impactful is that?
Well, it's phenomenal, right? The growth is phenomenal. When you think about the three founders, Cherise, Romonda and Ashley, I'm sure they're just like basking in the fact that this is beyond their wildest dreams of how it has grown, right? Which started as something simple as, giving wives something to do while their husbands, had to, do their appearances or, golf outings, et cetera, you know, from just a brunch to now a major marquee production is just it's phenomenal, right? And the fact that Off the Field has donated over $1 million um, throughout its existence to local charities, it just can't. There's nothing to match that exhilaration.
Yeah, no, that's phenomenal. And just I know the wives have their individual things that they support, but then you also come together collectively. And I think that is very commendable. And I celebrate each and every one of you. But I know that you are an electrical engineer by training. And I know that was super tough. My sister is actually electrical engineer, so I know that firsthand. How has that career been, and what skill sets do you borrow from that part of your life into what it is that you're doing now?
Oh my goodness. So here's the funny thing, right? So in high school, I went to a math science computer magnet, and it was just heavy on STEM. And I had a knack for it, loved it. And engineering was not in my scope of thought. I had a academic recruiter come to my high school and tell me that, based on this school and what I'm doing, I should be an engineer. And I said, oh, okay, I'll be an engineer, right? And when I started in school, doing the engineering work, it just came simple to me. I hate to say it that way, but it was, intuitive. I already had a great foundation, so it wasn't a challenging experience for me. Um, Majoring in electrical engineering, it just came second nature. It was a great way to, exercise my brain in capacities that I hadn't exercised it in. So, but going back to my high school, again, it was math, science, and computers. And, I wrote my first program when I was 12, right? So I honestly should have majored in computer science, right? But the academic recruiter said that I would probably be more marketable as an electrical engineer, which in hindsight, yes, that is true. It has made me very marketable. But my passion was software development. And so after I graduated, I've always worked in software development and not in electrical engineering careers.
Now that's interesting. That is very interesting. And if you had to do it over again, what would you do?
Computer science, and probably by now would have a PhD in computer science. And
Yeah.
of course, it's not too late to do that, but it's just, there's been, a series of things that just haven't guided me in that direction. But yeah, I probably would have majored in computer science.
So yeah. Okay, so let's go to the third rung of who of what you do, which is the Pink Sapphire events. So tell us about that and how
Yes.
that came to be, and how does that fit with all the other things that you're doing?
So my sister, I'm the youngest of six, right? And so in my household, there were four girls and two boys, right? So each of the two girls shared a room. I shared a room with my sister Angela, and we are 7 years apart. And I would have these elaborate tea parties with my um, Barbie dolls. I would even make like the food with the Play-Doh, and like I would make their clothes. Like I had very elaborate tea parties as a kid. And let my sister tell it, I've always had a knack for event planning, right? Ever since I was a kid with these elaborate experiences that I had for my Barbie dolls. So I didn't necessarily delve into event planning until college. I was part of National Society of Black Engineers. I was a part of Black Student Union. And in those roles and capacities, I was like the lead of events, right? And so that's when it, occurred to me like, hey, this is cool. Like I get to use my right brain and my left brain, doing things that I love, engineering, or technology and, managing events because really like they're in parallel with, making sure you do the what I call the three P's, right? Create a plan, right? So in order to create a plan, you have to have an idea and concept of what you want to achieve, right? So that's research, all the things necessary to create a solid plan. And then you have to be willing and flexible enough to pivot,
Mm,
right? And so that's in the technology world and that's in the event planning and management world, right? So you can, have this well laid out plan and you think you're going to go step A, step B, step C, step D, right? But, life throws us apples, it throws us lemons, it throws us watermelons, right? And so
you
you
bet.
may go from step A and then to step F and then back to B. But it, if your mind is not ready for the pivot, that's when things fall apart, right? And so I live off of what I call the three P's, and that is the plan, the pivot, and then the last P is progress. Always making progress, right? So, because if you're not moving, what? You're not making progress.
Oh, I love that. And I could see how that applies to the event planning. I can see how
Yes,
that applies to the tech, right, world.
yes,
And even it applies in football. If you look at, the plays that are run and there's always an audible, there's always what happens if that play breaks down and
that's
who
right.
was open and they do that, although I've never been in a
Yes,
huddle,
got to
but
be able to scramble.
exactly, right? And then maybe throw that Hail Mary for the win. But that is so, so good. And even with the technology that we had, right? There was some pivoting that happened. There was some changes. But the thing that I love is that when you have folks that have that mindset, they don't quit, right?
No,
We're going to find a way through it that is going to make progress and keep us moving. So
moving.
I
Yes.
love that. So when we're talking about moving now, I met you, as I said, at the Super Bowl, and I saw you a couple times, but I think I interview you at the Dr. Shavana's event.
We didn't get the opportunity for an interview.
Okay, but I did see you in the room, and then I think I
Yes,
saw
yes.
you at the power brunch and some other things. But I know that you are the I think an event co-sponsor. Is that for what's coming on in another week or so?
Oh, yes. See, and that's part of the yes, right?
Yeah.
So, and I actually posted that today, right? So I reached out to Dr. Shavana about the Rise Tour and requesting, inclusion, and she said yes, right? So then, and we hit it off instantly, right? Once I got there and she's giving me a hug, I'm giving her a hug. I feel like, she might be my sister and I just don't know it, right? Or a long lost cousin. And so nonetheless, I told her, thank you, for the inclusion. And if there's anything you need, let me know, right? And so, after Super Bowl week, she called me and said, hey, I'm coming to Atlanta. Will you co-host? And my first thought was, right? Because co-host, you're in the front, you're not in the back, right? So I said yes, right? And so she said yes, I said yes, that, reciprocal, right? Reciprocity is important. And now I feel like the floodgates have opened, right? I've met you, phenomenal, experience here with my first podcast. I've met Dr. Sherrill, who actually lives around the corner from me. I've met, some wonderful people because I said yes and because she said yes. So I am the co-host of the Rise Tour, which is coming to Atlanta May 9th. That's Mother's Day weekend. We are going to have a wonderful time, talking about elevating to the next level, right? And I feel like maybe by osmosis, right? I'm actually, elevating to the next level and whatever this next chapter of Shawnette is, based on, you know, attending the Rise Tour and hearing the phenomenal speakers that were there. One of the speakers, and I'm so bad with names, but he he his speech had analogies to track, right? And I ran track. I actually got a scholarship, to run track. So I was an engineering major and a track star, right? And but going back to the Rise Tour, so he spoke about what it takes to run the 400 meters, and he paralleled that to financial success and achievement, right? And it just hit home for me, right? Because, when you start out that 400, right, you're, trying to fill your competitors, right? But you want to, make up for the stagger. And then that first 100 meters, right, you want to stay competitive, right? And then the third 300 meters, you want to make your move and transition to, get yourself in front of your competition. And then the last 100 meters, you want to sprint so fast that, you get to the finish line first, right? So I feel like, it's little things like that is so powerful, right? And that it resonated with me. And what Super Bowl was week was February, right? And this is April, and right, I can still talk about the impact of that speech, right? And so when you think about what's coming to Atlanta, it's that same experience, right? The same pouring in and elevating and lifting up and rise, reign, right? It's all of that compiled into one by a passionate curator that wants to see everyone rise, reign, and lead.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I know y'all are going to have a fantastic time with those that are in the room. For those that still can, those that are in the Atlanta area and they want to come to that event, can you share more as to how they can be a part of it?
Yes. So the website, and I don't have it memorized by heart. So um, it's the risetoursexperience.com. So actually, I do have it memorized by heart. They can go to that website, the risetoursexperience.com, and purchase tickets. And even if you're not in the Atlanta area and if you want to just come to Atlanta to experience this, it's important for you to buy your tickets today. Tickets are selling out fast because it's Mother's Day weekend. It's going to be at the illustrious Chateau Elan in Brazelton, Georgia. And so some people are making a whole weekend experience out of the Rise Tour, staying, at the Chateau Elan or, in close proximity to it. But yes, go to the risetoursexperience.com to purchase your ticket today.
Yes, the Chateau Elan is a phenomenal winery and restaurant and resort and all of
Oh,
that. So
it's so elegant and beautiful, right? So we did a site visit there earlier this week. Um, and I hate to say this, but I hadn't been to Chateau Elan.
really,
And I've been in living in Atlanta for many years. But before I lived in Atlanta, I lived in the Bay Area and we would, go out to the wineries to Napa. So I'm like, I've I've been to Napa. Why do
you
I
did,
need to go to
you've done it
Chateau
all. But for us East Coast folks, Chateau Elan is, you know,
Well, it is. But I was proven wrong, right? And now I'm in my head, I'm like, oh, I need to do, some outings, more outings there because it is fun, breathtaking. It's breathtaking, right? All the, acreage of space that's there. You can see the vineyards, right? There's spa, there's pool, there's trails. It's a very elegant experience, Chateau Elon.
it is, it is. And I'll share one time when I was there, I had gone out to exercise in the morning and I was out in the vineyard and it looked like all of the branches had been pruned and there was nothing on the vine. And as I'm walking down each of the rows, just kind of getting my steps in, I got closer. And what it looked like there was like water or dew on the branches. But as I got closer and I touched it, it was sticky, right? And so that was the sap,
Yes.
if you will, right? And
Right.
and the what I took away from that walk was that there's always something more going on underneath the surface. And even when you think it's dormant, it's actually in preparation mode. And so, what I am going to speak over you, Miss Shawnette Sapp, is that as you have started saying yes to this next season of life, we think that nothing has been going on. But this is just the sap that we're seeing is just the beginning of what is going to bloom, what is going to germinate, what is going to now explode in your life.
Ready for it. I receive it. I embrace it. Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, yes. And so, with that, on for Boss Business Strategies, this is for entrepreneurs who are looking to scale to their first $1 million. And one of the things I always ask my guests is, what was your $1 million moment? And not so much the time when you made $1 million, but what was the mindset? What did it take? What would you speak over entrepreneurs who are looking to reach that goal? Tell them how to do it.
I feel like it goes back to what I said with the three P's, right? Have a plan, be willing to pivot and continuously make progress because without progress, you're going backwards, right? And so, you know, if you can find a simple, repeatable process that equals success for you, then you're going to achieve success.
Mhm. I love that. And how can folks get a hold of you?
So you can find me in a myriad of places, right? So my company, Pink Sapphire Events, you can find me, on, you know, Instagram, Pink Sapphire Events. My website is pinksapphire.events.com. You can find me there. If you're looking to find out more about me, Shawnette, and get to learn, my right brain and my left brain, you can find me at ShawnetteSapp.com.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Shawnette, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. It's been a pleasure to get into your head and hear all the things. And again, I am so grateful that that I was your first guest for the podcast. That makes me feel really good. Just kind of stay tuned, and I'm going to say goodbye. Hey everybody, it's Dr. Marcia. Thank you for hanging out with me, your life and business architect. I am the CEO and founder of In Full Bloom Health and Life Coaching, which is the home of life coaching for business builders and Girl Boss Life Academy. And so you can find me at drmarcia.com. That's DRMARCEA. I have an upcoming boot camp called Create Your Stage, where I help you to harness the power of your story to build an authentic platform and then to chart a clear path to business success. Well, Shawnette and I are saying bye-bye, and we'll see you next time here on Boss Business Strategies. Take care.
Thank you.